Many years ago, a friend said to me these words. He said, "You haven't lived until you found a cause worth dying for." And I just laughed at him at the time. Now, a decade later, I find myself agreeing with him. And I'm going to take you on the journey that led me to this conclusion. At the heart of all this is the concept of cause. Is there something that you dedicate yourself to that is bigger than just yourself or your family? Well, in my case, the first cause I ever really supported was biofuels. This is a boat we launched in 2006. Her name was Earthrace, and she was built to promote biofuels as an alternative to petroleum. We fueled her on 100% biodiesel made from waste cooking oils. Over a 4-year period, she became the most photographed boat on the planet. In a global port tour, we visited 186 cities, had 250,000 people walk aboard her. And in 2008, we set a new world record for circling the globe. The project was instrumental in supporting the biofuels industry during its infancy. Now, while I started this journey with biofuels as my cause, with time, the passion had waned. Palm oil was increasingly being used as the principal feedstock for biodiesel, something I had deep reservations about. So in 2009, I came back to New Zealand, and the thought of a low-stress 9-to-5 job supporting my family was most appealing. And yet something in the back of my mind kept nagging at me. Earthrace had opened my eyes to the potential I had to make things happen. I'd become really good at leading teams. I could go back and use these skills to run businesses more effectively, but would it in any way make the world a better place? Probably not. It might mean I'd have money to spend again, would be successful in a conventional sense, a bigger house, car, boat, travel overseas, all of the things I'd coveted before, I could have again and more so. And yet I'd largely lost interest in all of them. What I really wanted to do, and I know it sounds corny, was to make the world a better place. In working on Earthrace, I'd found how rewarding it was to follow your dreams and fight for something. To stand up for a cause and make a difference had become more appealing than consumption, ownership, and travel. Perhaps the only thing I wanted from my old life was more time with my girls. And I reckon I could have that while also following my dreams. In the 3 years that I captained Earthrace, I started off with biofuels as my cause. But as that waned, marine conservation issues gradually got under my skin. And one of them was Japanese whaling. So in 2009, when it came time for the reset, I decided to take on the Japanese whalers. We partnered with Sea Shepherd, painted the boat black. A few months later, went down to Antarctica, chasing those naughty Japanese. What could possibly go wrong? We did our best to disrupt their operations. Then on January 6, 2010, this happened. Japanese vessel, the Shonan Maru No. 2, cuts us in half. 800 tonne versus 18 was only going to end one way. And my dream of stopping Japanese whaling, in my mind at least, was shattered. But keep in mind, we had 2 goals. One of them was to disrupt their whaling operations, and our ability in that a little bit compromised now. But the second was to get media, and media was all over this like a rash. But sadly, in Japan, it was a complete non-issue. And I remember thinking we had to find a way to take the fight to Japan before their media would go giving it any attention. A month later, our team made it happen. 3 of us on a jet ski. My engineer, he's sitting on the front, me in the middle, little cameraman on the back, crapping his pants, bounced along, dodging icebergs, up to the Shonan Maru, smack into the side, clambered up, and a wave came, swept me off, and then a few minutes later, Larry managed to find me. Things are turning pear-shaped about now. Second attempt in there, smacked against the side. They've got these steel anti-boarding spikes, and we're dodging these. And anyway, second attempt, clambered on the side, and a very similar wave came up, and it came to about here, and I was within millimetres of getting swept off, but miraculously managed to stay clinging on the side, cut the net, jumped aboard, crouched down, and I knew we'd made a little bit of history. It was the most extraordinary feeling. I got on the radio to my engineer, "The Kiwi has landed." We didn't know it at the time, but our success was about to change the anti-whaling narrative. As expected on daybreak, the captain arrested me, took me back to Japan, and for the first time, Japanese media began debating the whaling issue. On the day I arrived in Tokyo, 8 news helicopters hovered overhead, wanting a shot of this very evil man who'd arrived from New Zealand. 47 journalists arrived in prison wanting to interview me. Concurrently with this, NGOs around the world ran very clever campaigns highlighting the dishonesty of Japanese whaling and my farcical and ongoing prosecution, and a number of protests were held, and the biggest of them in Australia, and eventually the Australian government buckled. Now, I remember the day this journalist turned up to see me in prison, and she held a press release up against the glass. I start reading it, and I burst into tears. Australia had announced plans to take Japan to the International Court of Justice over their whaling, and I knew this was what it would take to stop their whaling. 4 years later, the world's highest court ruled that their whaling was neither legal nor was it scientific, and ordered them to stop. Conservationists the world over, myself included, all went and had a big piss-up, had a big hangover the next day. In some ways, we might have been a bit premature. A couple of years later, the Japanese resumed their whaling program, but now it's only 333 whales as opposed to 1,000 they had before. Now, I'm not claiming sole responsibility for what I see as a victory. So many people and teams played a part, but in many ways, it was my incarceration and the loss of the boat that galvanised people into action. And I'm super proud of the role I played in saving whales in Antarctica. Back to my time in Japan, I was eventually freed, but I paid a heavy price. 5 months in maximum security was very difficult, and I came out a changed man, and not all for the better. I'd given up a significant chunk of my life, my boat was gone, and I was broke. And arriving home, I again had the chance of a full reset. And despite all that had happened, the thought of going back to a 9 to 5, I couldn't do it. I liken it to the Matrix. You have a red pill and a blue pill, but the red pill is a one-way journey. Once you get to work on things you truly believe in, it is so hard to go back and simply earn a living. My cause at this stage remained marine conservation, and I was determined to remain fighting for it. There remained a serious barrier to me, of course, and that was money or lack thereof. Now, while I was in prison, I'd hatched this cunning plan to solve this funding issue, while also taking our missions up a level. What I wanted to do was to hire former military personnel and fund it with a new TV show. Hardcore men, lots of money. I knew we could wreak a lot of havoc and do a lot of good. And the TV show would give us a platform for promoting these issues that I found really important. Well, amazingly, we made it happen. This is the team that I took to Central America, former members of US Marines, US Navy SEALs, US Army Rangers, a New Zealand paratrooper for good measure, a hardcore group of operatives determined to contribute. Now, we never won all our battles. In fact, we lost a lot more than we won. And many times we failed, but we had some successes. This vessel we caught fishing illegally in a marine reserve in Guanacaste. The captain turned out to be the president of the Commercial Fishermen's Association. These 7 shark finning boats we caught in a single night in the Cocos Island Marine Reserve. A Vietnamese boat we caught spearfishing illegally in Palawan with over 15 tonne of illegally taken fish, much of it endangered. A banned Danish seine operating illegally in municipal waters. We targeted cyanide fishermen, dynamite fishermen, people hunting pink dolphin, for goodness sake. I don't know if you can see it. On the back of that is a pink dolphin head. Up the front, there's some guys smoking dolphin meat. We exposed the brutal seal clubbing in Namibia. This is the first mission our team ever ran. We even rescued a dolphin that was being held illegally in a tiny little swimming pool. When it comes to marine conservation, my team had delivered. We arrested lots of people, we exposed lots of issues, and our television show aired in something like 90 countries. Now, I'd be quite happy to keep running these marine missions for the rest of my life, but that all changed when I got an email from a friend with a very innocuous title of biomass. It gets technical here, so please bear with me. Biomass is the total amount of mass of something organic. The biomass of humans, for example, can be calculated 7.6 billion people times 69 kilos, the average mass of a human, 524 million tonnes. Now, this email was claiming that the biomass of land animals was in freefall, wild land animals. And she quoted some numbers that I was dubious about. Nevertheless, decided to do some digging. Here's what we did. We added up the biomass of all of the wild animals on land, and we included mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, 20,000 species in total. Next, we added up the biomass of man and his 12 domestic animals, and this is cattle, sheep, dogs, cats, etc. We then put the two together, and this is where it gets interesting. This is what I was expecting. Wild animals accounting for maybe 75% of the land animal biomass. Sadly, that is not what we found. The real answer was both unexpected and appalling. 3%. The biomass of 20,000 wild animals on land is now just 3% of the total. It continues to fall. Man and his 12 domesticated animals make up the other 97. The reasons for this are complex. Habitat loss, wildlife poaching, deforestation, climate change, mining, pollution. So many things are impacting our land fauna. My team had been busy running marine missions, and in many ways, terrestrial wildlife was under even greater threat. So we decided to get involved. The thought of running missions on land was most appealing to them. We've been beaten up in boats so many times. Maritime missions are hard work. The thought of being in a jungle, we had visions of pina coladas, sitting in hammocks and swinging around. We started running the missions, and it was swamps and mosquitoes and leeches, and the gloss of jungle missions quickly wore off. But what didn't wear off was mission satisfaction. We caught lots of criminals, we exposed lots of issues, and we saved lots of animals. Here's a few of our successes. We exposed a number of legal logging operations. This one in Sembilang National Park in Indonesia. This one in Bethune National Park in Sumatra. We closed down 2 illegal gold mining operations in Corcovado National Park. We closed down 2 criminal gangs smuggling endangered wildlife. This one was smuggling endangered forest turtles out of the Philippines to China. The second one was smuggling pangolin. What an amazing little animal. This little guy is one of the lucky ones that we saved. Including land animals also helped broaden up our TV show, and some of our most compelling episodes came from these jungle missions. Just recently, we've been working in the Amazon jungle on the illegal pet trade. Pretty much any animal in the Amazon can now be purchased. Monkeys, snakes, puma, jaguar, it is all for sale, dead or alive. We caught this bloke recently who just shot an endangered female red monkey. Here she is being cooked up for the man's dinner. And tied to a sapling directly above the bubbling pot was her baby, destined to become someone's pet. The sight of this literally broke my heart. Sadly, that poacher is one of thousands pillaging the jungle for an underground pet trade. Like wild areas the world over, the Amazon today is under siege as it hemorrhages its wildlife for demand in faraway lands. While I detest poachers, the problem in many ways is the supply chain that facilitates this lucrative trade from hunter to buyer. Take away the demand or disrupt the supply chain, and generally the poaching stops. With this in mind, our team started from the poacher and we began working down the supply chain. We found boats transporting wildlife from the jungles to local cities. On here you're seeing 2 endangered red monkeys being transferred. We found middlemen, in fact, more often than not, it was middlewomen that buy the animals and move them on. Low-value animals sold locally, either dead or alive. High-value animals moved downstream, normally alive. We continued following the supply chain, and the trail led to Macapa in Brazil. Now, if I'm smuggling wildlife out of the Amazon, this is the port I'm going to run it through. I went there 10 days ago. Shortly after my arrival, I was attacked by 2 men with a knife. And I came within inches of having my throat slit. The wound in my chest is now healed, but the vision of the first guy with a knife haunts me. It's not the first time we've faced the possibility of losing lives. Twice our team has come under gunfire chasing gold miners in jungles. Been shot at multiple times by illegal fishing vessels that we've chased. Last one was in the Philippines. I dread the day I come back with one of my men in a body bag. And every time I say goodbye to my daughters and head away on campaign, I fear it may be the last time I ever see them. The reality is that our campaigns take us to difficult places and sees us taking on criminal gangs that are morally bankrupt and with deep pockets. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm rather highlighting the fact that this is the cause that my team and I choose to fight for. And we know the risks. You haven't lived till you found a cause worth dying for. I've found my cause, saving wildlife. I know that one day it may take my life, and I'm okay with that. My life today has real meaning. I get to save dolphins, whales, pangolin, turtles. I run patrols in the world's remotest jungles. I spent the last 2 months going up and down the Amazon. Getting knifed wasn't so great. The rest of it was amazing. I wouldn't swap my existence with anyone. I get to fight for a cause, and I do make the world a fractionally better place. Ask yourself this question. If you died tomorrow, can you honestly say that the world is a better place with you having been in it? If you haven't found your cause, then I'd suggest probably not. And you are selling yourself short. I'm not saying you need to risk your life or give up your career. I'm not saying you need to fight for animals or give up material possessions. But I am saying if you find a cause that you believe in and you dedicate yourself to it, you will lead a richer life. And you might just make the world a better place.